Alright, in this scene we're going to block out our character's body. I'm going to just tap on the front view here, and then I'm going to set up a two-panel side-by-side layout. Okay, and if your perspective view didn't come up over here, you can set that under perspective, panels perspective, and that'll grab that camera. So before we get started here, let's just kind of take a look at the character's body shape. It has some kind of nice curvature to it and sort of a roundness happening here. And I think the kind of intuitive approach to this would be to sort of take something like a sphere and shape it out like this. And we're certainly grabbing a lot of the shape here initially, but we're also running into a problem here at the top and the bottom. We have these triangles that are not really suitable for this type of modeling. This doesn't really allow us to bring some of the features out that we're after, as well as prepare it for a 3D paint package. We're going to take this into Mudbox later on. The same would be true if we were going to take this into something like ZBrush and subdivide it in there and add a lot of detail and skin wrinkles or whatnot. We would not want to have these triangles up here. Okay, it's not like you can never model with triangles. You can. It's just this is not a situation where we want to do that. We want to have everything remain four-sided, and that's kind of suiting our purpose a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in a cube, and this is called box modeling. For kind of obvious reasons, we're starting off here with a box, and we're keeping everything as four-sided polygons. So I'm just kind of shaping this a little bit here, and over here in my 3D view I can see that I've scaled it up, and it's square when we look down on it, and scaled it up a little bit more in the Y direction here. So I'm going to subdivide this. I'm going to click on the inputs here, and let's go 2, 3, and 2. So my character's a little taller than it is wider. So this is working a little bit better here. I could actually drop in a fourth one right here, but I want to keep it a little bit more low polygon. I'm trying to keep these fairly square right here. Okay, so I'll do about like that. So we've got everything kind of subdivided fairly evenly. And the next thing we're going to do is start rounding this out so we can create some of the soft edges that we want. If we hit 3 on the keyboard, we're getting something that's got a little bit more of a smooth appearance to it. But we really need to round out these intersections here that are happening down the center, as well as the intersection here on the top. I'm going to go back to 1 on my keyboard, and I'm going to go to Edge, and I'm going to double click on the edge over here. This is the side of the character, and I'm going to start pulling this out in, actually I'll scale it up in the Y direction. Make sure I've got my symmetry on. Let me just turn this off right here, and that's edge constraint. So I'm going to start scaling it up, and we can see this is starting to round it out on the top here, and then I'm going to scale it in X, and that's rounding out as well. Looks like I lost an edge right there. Just take this back. Okay, so I'm just going to double click this edge here and make sure I've got my edge constraint off and my symmetry off, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll just reselect that. There it is in the center now. So I'm going to scale it in the X direction as well as Y. Okay, about like that. Maybe a little bit more right here. So we can see this is starting to round things out. Okay, maybe I went a little too far with that one. And then I'm going to double click on the edge going down the center of the character. I'm also going to scale this in Y. We can see it's rounding it out on the top. And then I'm going to scale it in Z, and this is going to create some roundness for the front and back of the character. So the front and the back are probably a little bit more flat than the sides. So I'm just going to push those in a little bit, about like that. Okay, and maybe bring that to right about there. Okay, so I've got that done. I'm going to go back to object mode and just scale this down a little bit and slide that up into place. So I'm kind of looking at just the general body shape here that I'm capturing right now. I'm going to go to the side view and look at the character from here. So we've kind of got the volume, but we need to start moving some points around here to shape the character and kind of capture all of this curvature and points and various areas around here from the contour. So I'm just going to go to vertex and start pulling some of these points around. That one probably is going to go down here. And I'm just dragging a marquee and pulling some of these points. I think I will actually pull this one up. Okay, and I'm probably going to do something like this where I pull this one up a little higher and kind of angle it back. Okay, and it's always nice to kind of come over here and check your 3D view. This is more of a reference here. It's giving us guidelines, but how it looks in 3D is going to be much more important than following this to a T. The drawings are not always 100% accurate. So we just want to make sure that we're always coming over here and just sort of checking on what we're doing in 3D mode over here. Okay, so I'm going to pull that back. This is going to be the character's brow. This area is okay right here for the eyes coming across, and the belly right about here. So I've kind of maxed out what I can do in both the front and side views here. So what I need to do is start inserting some edge loops. So I've got my shortcut up here on my shelf, and if I come under Mesh Tools, this is where I'm accessing that. So insert edge loop. If you hold down Shift Control on a PC and you click this, it will put any of these out on the shelf right here. And to eliminate them, you can just right mouse click over and say delete. Okay, so I'm going to actually double click on this and access the tool settings, and by default this is usually, I'll reset the tool here, this is usually not checked. So for character modeling, because we want to create some nice soft curvature here, if I insert something, say across here, it just drops it in and it doesn't have any effect on what's called the edge flow. So it didn't compensate between this point up here and this one down here and try to round that out a little bit. Now in the case of this view right here, if we go to the side view on my character, here we go, his back actually comes in. So here I would actually have the insert edge flow off, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, and for the back of the character's head here, I do want to see it round out a little bit, as well as right here. We'll actually pull that in a little. We've got a curve coming in and one coming out. But if I look at the sides here, it's creating some curvature around here, which I do want. Okay, so I'm going to do the same. I'm going to drop one in right here on the side of the character, and that's going to round that out. I'll do one here as well. And in the case here, I've got this kind of sloping forehead, so I am going to have to come back here and pull that down. I just hit Q to end that. I'm going to close this down, and I'm going to grab the vertices here and start pulling them back. Okay. And I'm drawing marquees because I want to make sure that I'm grabbing the one on the other side over here. I can also turn on symmetry and do that. For the side view, I usually have symmetry off, and just pull all of these in right here. Here's the lower part of the back, and with this one, I'm going to kind of angle that up. He's got this sort of high point right there on his tail, and with this right here, I can see it kind of it rounded it out probably a little too much here. So sometimes the edge flow helps you, and it just really kind of depends if you have curves going in or out. And on my character, especially the side view, I've got them kind of coming in and then bulging out, so it's working in some areas and not so much in the other areas. So just a little back and forth here. Okay, so I'm going to kind of pull, actually I want this one running through the center of the eye here, and this is going to be the brow right here, and we're going to pull this one in, and actually this one I'm going to pull down here. This is going to become the kind of area in the back here where it's starting to go into this flat area. And do that. So I'm just kind of looking at the edge flow of each one of my edges as it comes across the character, and starting to think about the anatomy of the character. So I also have this really large spanse right here that I need another subdivision on. So I'm going to just drop one in right here, and that's going to help shape the back of the character there. Okay. So this looks pretty decent for the side view. I'm going to hit Q to get out of that. I'm going to go back to vertex and just pull this area up here a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead to the front view now and make some adjustments here. So I can see the character kind of bulged out a little bit right in this area. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn symmetry on for the front view. And I'm going to grab the side of the character and start pushing that in. And I'm just kind of checking here. It's kind of bulging out a little bit, even though it looks like it's sort of following the drawing that I did here. I could just look over here and see that some of it is just kind of a little off. Okay, so I want to check that 3D model over here, and here's kind of the top of the shoulders, and then we've got some points up here on the top of the head that are needing to come in. So I'm going to grab these and push those in like that. And grab these right here. So this whole row, including that, all needs to come in. Okay, so I'm following the curvature of the character's head, and I'm not really looking too much right here where the horns are connecting. I'll worry about that later. Okay, and I feel like these need to come in just a little. Okay, and just looking down here, the back of the character. So I know I'm going to have to drop in some edge loops here. Let me just kind of pull these back a little. Okay, so I'm getting an area here that is starting to look a little flat, and I also know I'm going to need some subdivisions down the front of the face. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in an edge loop. I've got my Object X symmetry on, so it's going to drop it in on both sides. So I'm going to drop one here and another one right about there. Okay, so that subdivides it up pretty evenly, and as well as the back. Okay, and I've got a few little areas here where I feel like it's just starting to maybe pull in a little bit too much. So this is, I'm going to hit Q to get out of that, go back to vertex. This point right here is the original corner of our cube, and these tend to get kind of pinched in on the characters. So I'm going to kind of pull that out a little bit more. We want it to be round, but we don't want it to, look like a dimple on the character. Okay, and then this area's gotten a little flat as well, so I'm going to push that out. And these are sort of things that you can't really see so much on the character here. I do notice that this has gotten a little, maybe a little high. And so I'm grabbing kind of this couple of these little high points right here and just pushing them down a little. Okay, these two areas right here, these two vertices. Okay. All right, and then just looking down on the character here, once I kind of have the shape down and I want to slide some of the edges around without losing the shape of the character, what I'm going to do is turn on this transform constraint, edge slide. Okay, so what this allows me to do is I can no longer shape the character, so I can't pull this up. What I can do though is move my edges around and slide the points or the edges, and create a little bit nicer edge flow on the character. Okay, so I know I want to kind of shift this forward a little bit here and look at the back. I've got this little point right here that probably I'll have to kind of come back and revisit this as I start building some of the geometry up back there. And so just on the top of the head, just creating some nice curvature, having that flow. And the front looks pretty good. This kind of needs to get pushed down a little here. Maybe a little bit right here. And all of that looks pretty decent right there. Okay, so bottom of the character is kind of drooping down here a little bit. So I'm going to go back, turn off edge slide, and grab kind of this whole area down here. I'm going to just check what I've got. I think I want to grab these as well. Okay, and then I'm going to pull that up. To there, and pull these up as well. There we go. Alright, and then just check again and make sure I didn't do anything strange back here. Okay, so that's all looking good. So I've got the edge flow going, everything's kind of spaced fairly evenly. I know I'm going to have to drop in some more edges a little later on. I've got some areas back here that will need some additional edges put in, but for now I'm going to call that done as far as blocking out the character. And we'll come back in the next lesson and we'll start modeling the arms.